video and your mic on so you can verbalize the question instead of texting it in the chat. So I am going to introduce our speaker, Alex Oliveira. He, as a hand leader of multiple success companies, Brazilian-born and South Florida raised, Alex Oliveira has helped clients advance their businesses and brands by building and executing interactive marketing campaigns for over 15 years. With a heavy emphasis on lead generation, Alex has created a name for himself as well as respected digital marketing and entrepreneur. From small to mid-sized companies to nonprofits and Fortune 500 brands like Ford and Allstate, Alex enjoys a diverse portfolio of clientele. Alex's other passion includes adventuring with his wife and 4 kids. All right, Alex?
Or you got it. Well, you never know with this coronavirus.
I know. You might have a coronial. Giving back to the local community, having his morning coffee with a side of NPR. Welcome.
There you go.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. This is great. I so miss the chamber and all the events and everybody, you know, just updating each other. But I'm sure in the coming months, hopefully we'll get back to normal. In the meantime, it's Zoom, right? And I'm used to doing the Zoom. When I started my business back in 2011, so I had been doing consulting from 2009 to 2011. We were using Skype. So when I was doing lead generation then, it's sort of like when social media was like exploding. All the clients that I was getting was coming from meeting them on LinkedIn and then doing Skype. Zoom didn't exist then. There was a little bit of Google Hangouts and you could do GoToWebinar. But it was really Skype. And then once Microsoft bought Skype, they kind of screwed it up. It's still a pretty good tool, but definitely, in my opinion, the best tool in the market is Zoom. So we're going to talk about that today. And so for the agenda, we're going to cover 4 different things. Why you should consider using a webinar as a tool to grow your business or just even maintain relationships with your current clients. What tools you should use. There's a bunch of them out there, just not Zoom. How do you use the tools to do the webinar, and then some do's and don'ts, all right? So let's start with the why you should do it. And this is just a very short list, of course, but I think the most important one is that you can deliver value. I work with a lot of different associations around the globe, and the number one reason that their members say that they join the webinars is to gain value, valuable information, value from speakers. And as you can see here with the chamber, they've adapted fairly quickly. So I'm sure they're going to be doing a bunch of other topics and hopefully you guys are able to get value that way. The second way is no matter what product or service you're selling, there's a chance that you have some level of expertise in what you're talking or talking about or selling. So definitely position yourself as the expert, educating your current clients. There may be products that are new that you want to launch, and it's just a great way to get some feedback in real time. This one is a don't, but it's on this list, which is no hard selling, which is not true for every webinar. Sometimes you'll join a webinar and throughout the whole webinar, they will pepper in different sales pitches. I'm not a big fan of that. If you're going to use a webinar, use it to educate people because they're taking their time to learn. So don't sell. Access from anywhere in the world. As I said, going back to 2009, 10, and 11.
Hey, Alex, can you go to the next slide? I don't think we've moved slides.
Oh, which slide are you on, Sarah?
I'm on the first one. Is everyone else?
Oh, okay.
You didn't put your presentation in presentation view, so we're
okay. I apologize.
I'm sorry. Let's see. Everybody good though?
Right now we're on the Addenda.
Okay, cool. Let me go back from the agenda to the next one. All right. Okay, we're in the why, right?
No. Your PowerPoint presentation is not in PowerPoint presentation view. And I can't do it for you on that.
Hold on one second. How about now?
You need to put, now you're good.
Yes,
good?
Now you're perfect.
Why?
Thank you.
Thank you.
There's a webinar don't, right? So I had multiple screens on there. The best thing you can do is to only have one screen up, and I had 2. So back to the why, access from anywhere in the world, which is what we're doing right now. Massive communication tool is a great way to get your message out, keep your customers abreast as to what you're doing. Audience engagement. Today, we're not going to really do a lot of that with this webinar, but typically when we do webinars, we'll embed like a tool like Polls Everywhere. Polls Everywhere, you can ask questions in real time and embed that code into the slides. So we're not going to do that engagement, but at the end, we'll do the Q&As, and that's engaging, of course. My favorite part of webinars, which is to generate leads and qualify leads, okay? So if you have clients and prospects and you're trying to upsell them on a product, or you have a list of leads, doing a webinar is a great way to qualify them and then continue that conversation down the funnel. Gaining credibility is very important. And then last but not least, we do webinars every month, and we like to invite different people on there. So I think that the Chamber does that very well. You guys are always getting your members like myself involved. And that's just a great way to use webinars, okay? So let's start with the first tool, the one that we're using, which is Zoom. They have a free plan that allows you to do Zoom. And you can't do more than, I think, 20 people at once, and you can only record for a certain amount of time. If you want like all the features, it's the $20 a month plan. So I recommend doing that. You can do the free trial, because then it allows you to have all the different features that Chastity and the team there at the Chamber are using now. You can do the polls, the Q&As, you can embed it or integrate it to Facebook or YouTube Live as well. So Zoom is really one of the best tools out there right now. The other ones I'm going to list here, some are free, like Google Hangouts and Skype. I would not call those webinar tools. If we're talking about doing a webinar live, then you need a tool that can both do the presentation, but also the video conferencing. And so Google Hangouts and Skype is more of a video conferencing tool. And that doesn't mean that you can't share your screen. You can, but they don't have the same capabilities. So GoToWebinar is another one that's made by GoToMeeting, and then WebEx. So I work with a lot of universities. FAU in particular, they use WebEx for all their students. But as you go down this list, what you're going to notice is that you have companies that are catering like GoToWebinar and WebEx to more enterprise size. For small businesses, there's really no better tool than Zoom. But you can see here, there's a list of 10. You can look at them, compare, and see what works for you. So preparing your list. So the first thing that I did this morning was just make sure that I tested my internet. And then I went on to the presentation format. Sophia and I had already talked about what we were going to do, which was share the slides. I tested the camera. I knew what location I was going to be at, right? You probably don't want to do a webinar if you're sitting in a coffee shop. I made sure I had my notes and I reviewed. So really a lot of the same things that you would do in a live meeting, as far as a checklist, you're going to do here. As far as the mic goes, if your computer mic works well, then you don't need another mic. But if you're going to do this on an ongoing basis, you probably want to get a really good mic. And decent mics are about $100. So, you know, whether you want to use something wireless or something like what I'm using here, that kind of drowns out the noise around you. So, and then last but not least is looking professional. So I've been on a ton of Zoom calls in the past couple of weeks, and you see the gamut. People in their pajamas, their dogs, their kids running around, right? And so you just want to look professional. To me, it's the same rules as a in-person meeting apply, right? So I've got my banana here that I was going to eat before I started the webinar, but then we had to start. But I'm not going to sit here and start to eat while I'm talking to you. But believe it or not, there are people who do that. So just use your best judgment. So PowerPoint format. If you're doing a webinar, you have a couple of ways that you can do it. Straight PowerPoint without video is one of them. Like, we don't have to be on video right now. It just makes it a little bit more interactive. But if you're the host, you typically want to be on video, right? To let people know that you're there and they can read your body language, your expression, instead of just talking points, right? And you see that a lot with pre-recorded webinars where you just hear, you see the PowerPoint and you hear audio, but you don't see anyone. At some point, because you're not seeing someone on screen, you kind of just doze off. And hopefully you guys are not dozing off yet, okay? But so PowerPoint is one of them, and we're doing the combination of PowerPoint and video here. Another format that I like to do is in front of my whiteboard, and I've got this background here, a brick background, which is just a drop cloth. But in the other side of my home office, I have a bunch of whiteboards. If I'm going to be teaching people in real time, information that isn't necessarily digital, then I love to use my whiteboard because it's very interactive. You're watching me do it in real time. So combining video and the PowerPoint is very powerful. You want to do both. Any questions so far? Let's see the chat here. See if I have any questions. You know, why don't we do this with the questions? If you guys have questions, actually send it to Sophia. This way I don't have to minimize my screen because I'm just working with one screen, okay? And then if anything, she can interrupt me. All right, now how do you do it? We've talked about the tools that you can use. We've talked about the prep list. Let's talk about how you're gonna do it. You know, for most businesses, whether it's product or service, business to business, business to consumer, brick and mortar or e-commerce, it's about your funnel. It's marketing funnel, attracting your customers, nurturing, converting, and keeping them engaged, right? So the first thing you want to do is choose a topic and then create a headline that has search potential. Always going back to search engines. Why? Because you want visibility for your website, right? So that's search engine optimization. And the one way that you do that is you can just search for webinars with titles that are like the one you've come up with. And then from there, you can sort of start to do the keyword research, make sure that the main keyword topics for your product and service is in that title. So for me, I do a lot of digital marketing and lead generation. Almost all of my webinars, except for this one, will have the keywords lead generation or digital marketing, right? And then when I put it up on my website, Google is going to crawl it, and a whole new segment of customers are going to find those webinars. And all that I ask for those people to do once they find the pre-recorded webinar is that they register with their email. Then I have their email. They can download the webinar and watch it on demand. Okay. Setting up the webinar with the provider, which like in the case of Zoom, I'm sure everybody had an easy time. With the chamber, they just made you put the first name, last name, I believe the company was asked for, and then the email, right? Creating a landing page on your website or blog is very important because if you simply send them to the registration link, they're not going to be on your website. So for the chamber, it's a little different because they do dozens of events. They're not going to make you go through the whole their website system to register. So they're making it easy for you. But if you have a product or service out there, what you want to do is get people back to your website. So make sure that the registration link is created on the landing page on your website or blog. So build a list of tactics or strategies to be able to promote it. So ranging everything from your email blasts to your social media, you know, send SMS text to friends, colleagues, and let them know that you're doing a webinar. Another thing that you can do is if you have partnerships with different companies, you can create different links for them so that you can track, right? So if I were working with the chamber and I said, hey, can you promote this webinar for me? I would give them a specific link. And then this way I would know how many registrations they're sending me. So shooting a 1-minute video, I often do this when I'm doing a webinar, and it's just very organic, just to say, look, it's on this date, it's going to cover this topic, and just letting people know what you're going to discuss, right? A little video goes a long way. And I'm sure Rob from Plum Productions can agree with that. Sending an e-blast is very important, and the Chamber does that very well, keeping everybody informed with their email blasts. So make sure you do that. Typically, I would say typically a month or two out, just like most events. But because of everything that we're going through with this pandemic, it seems that, you know, people are just doing things in real time. So I'm getting a lot of invitations to webinar, and they're telling me a week before. So because everybody's got a little bit extra time, it doesn't really have to be a month out. So don't, if you're after this webinar, if you're going to set your own up, you don't have to wait a month. Just get it out there, and probably the less people, the better in your first webinar. If you've never hosted a webinar, the best thing you can do is have fewer people, so that if you make any mistakes, then you can learn from that rather than have a whole group of people, experience that. So promote the webinar on social media. We talked about breaking down the content and repurposing bits and pieces. I love this part because ultimately it is about lead generation, and it's about nurturing your customers. And there's no better way for you to do that than to take the webinar. So let's say you created a 20 slide PowerPoint. In those PowerPoints, just like here, you're gonna have bits and pieces. Take those bits and pieces, break it down into small posts, and repurpose it on social media, right? So it's a great way for you to create a lot of content and then be able to use it as a marketing tool. And then post the webinar on your website and social networks, which is pretty much the same thing. What I don't recommend doing for webinars is promoting it through like ads. There's just way too much free content out there, no matter what industry you're in. So unless you're doing a huge virtual event, it doesn't really pay to advertise that you're doing a webinar, or paid advertisement, I should say. Okay, so do's and don'ts, right? So for do is test all the equipment, your mic, record a sort of a 2-3 minute test webinar by yourself, with a friend, with a colleague, and see how it works. Watch it for yourself and see if you like the sound, you like the setting, the lighting as well. Definitely introduce yourself. We did that today. Review the agenda. We did that as well, so that you knew exactly how much work we were going to cover today. Leave time for questions, which we're doing here today as well. Send the recording and make sure that you hit the record button. I can't tell you how many times it's happened to me that I was hosting the webinar and I didn't hit record, and then after the webinar I'm going, oh no, now I've got to go back and re-record it, or just, you know, wait until the next time. And then send a follow-up thank you email, which I'm sure the Chamber will always do, send you a follow-up thanking you for attending. The don'ts is don't wear your pajamas, right? Wear just regular good clothes that you would wear to a meeting. Don't stuff your face with food. I see it all the time. Or even if you're not on camera, but you hear people chewing. They're chewing their food, and you're going, just mute the mic, you know, because if you're there, you're there. If you're not there, just don't attend the webinar if you can't do that. Make calls, right? Don't make calls. I muted. That was the first thing that I did, was mute my cell phone, because I didn't want to get any phone calls and be interrupted, or being, you know, kind of distracted by having to text people back and forth. And I'm sure no one is doing that. But and then don't interrupt the host. Everybody's done a great job not interrupting. And most importantly, don't sell. That's like, to me, the main one here. Don't sell. Just inform people. And that's pretty much it. This is like the most basic information that I can share with you after doing webinars for 10 years. I literally have a unteachable. So for those of you that are interested on building your webinars as an actual learning management system tool for your clients, you can use a system like Thinkific. It's called Thinkific, or Teachable. Now on Teachable, what we do for our clients is we upload all the webinars, and we have hundreds of webinars on there, and they can have access to it anytime. So I suggest maybe that the Chamber could do that. Now that you're going to be recording all these webinars, is maybe you can put it on Teachable so that people can have a whole, catalog of all the different webinars. And that's pretty much it. We'll open up to questions. Sophia, you're going to take over.
Yes. Hi, Alex. We have a couple questions. So Taylor asks, for the first webinar, is it better to do it live or pre-recorded?
I like live better. Definitely. To me, live is better. But if you are going to do pre-recorded, just leave room so that you can jump in at the end. And then you can answer questions live. So it's sort of like you can do a bunch of run-throughs to record the perfect webinar, so to speak. And then at the end, you can join the participants like we're doing here and doing your Q&A. So then this way it feels a lot like a live webinar.
I have a question myself. What should people be asking themselves or a certain webinar provider questions? Like, what are some very important questions before they sign on to a monthly subscription or anything like that?
Yeah, so I think the most important thing is finding out how many participants you can have, making sure that you understand how much data or memory they allow you. I got caught up into that with Zoom at some point. We had so many recordings on the cloud, and they said, actually, you can just record it on your computer, and then it won't take up the memory. So then you don't have to spend more. And I said, oh, that's easy. So now I record most of our webinars on our desktop, and then I go back and edit it, put it on YouTube, edit it, and then throw it on Teachable. So those are the two main questions. And of course, not getting into any long-term contracts. Zoom doesn't do this, but some of the other ones that I listed, they will give you a discount to sign up for a year. If you paid a year up front, I would never recommend that. Just go month by month.
Rob asks, what would you recommend for a landing page, your own website or a separate service?
Definitely your website. I'm not a fan of services like, I'll name a few here, Unbounce, Lead Pages, ClickFunnels. I don't like those services because ultimately all they are is a fancy email marketing tool. So you can create landing pages for free using a email marketing software like MailChimp. Or if your website is hosted on WordPress, you can create a landing page very easily, right? A landing page ultimately is a flyer. It's just a flyer, but digitally. So you do it on your website. I always want people to be on your website no matter what.
Alan asks, can you talk about lighting and virtual backgrounds?
Lighting, yeah. So my lighting right now is natural. It's not the best. If I were shooting video, I would ask Rob more than anybody. He's the expert in this area. But I do have lighting that we purchased for video. So when I'm doing like we did one about a month ago or so with a global organization. There were people logging in from Japan, from everywhere. So we actually made sure as a team that we met in a conference room and we had the right lighting and the right background. Okay, so you could buy these sort of drop backgrounds here. I bought it on eBay for about $10. So I'm sure Rob's got a bunch of different resources or advice on that.
Yeah, one thing, if you don't mind, I'll send a link. Jen did a video a long time ago on her YouTube channel that has started to actually blow up a little bit because people are searching for that question. So I'll put the link here in a minute.
Awesome.
We have another question. How can you see everyone attending in the screen?
Sure. So basically you have the little, it's the way you set it up. Well, you guys set it up so we could see everyone. So as long as everyone is on camera, you can just click the little arrow, or you can't see my screen right now, but if you look at where you have the tiles, right? The pictures, images of different people, there is a thumbnail video. There is a small, or you can show the grid video. Like, so it looks like 9 little dots. And if you click on it, it'll expand and you could have as many people as you want. So I find it, me personally, I find it that it gets a little distracting if I see everyone. So I've tried having 2 screens, one screen for the presentation, one screen for people. I end up just looking at people. So, you know, if it's a meeting as large as this one, where we have more than 20 people, it's, I'd rather just, right now I see 6. So I have mine adjusted to see 6 people. But yeah, you can do everyone, and just you toggle and you stretch that tile, the little grid, you stretch the grid.
Dan Meister actually raised his hand. Dan, if you want to go ahead and ask your question, I'll unmute you. Dan? Dan,
Oh, change his mind.
Okay, we'll come back to him. Bill asks, is it easier to install mic and cam on my own, or do I need my IT professional, and any brands you recommend?
Yeah, no, Rob probably has a good recommendation in that too. This one is by Audio Technica, the AT2005 USB. It's a USB, that's it, right? And it's about an $80 mic. I've been using this mic for podcasts and a bunch of other audio type recordings, whether it's webinar, live webcast, and it works great. And pretty much I know in my industry that do YouTubes or podcasts, most of them are using an $80 mic that can just plug into USB. But I'm sure, like Rob can attest to it, that you can get more complicated and spend thousands of dollars, which is not necessary.
So Dan Meister asks, on Zoom, can you share 2 screens so you can interview or have a panel for the presentation?
Yes, you can definitely do that. So how I would do that is I would actually have to split the screen, right? Minimize. So I would minimize the webinar right now, and then have the screen next to it, and then you have to share in the setting down here. Let me show you where it's at. If I can find it. Oh, there it is. Okay. So you go to settings here. Hold on. Go to more. Show names. Hide video panel. Share computer. Share. Optimize share. Okay, yeah. So there is a setting when you click on the 3 dots that say more, and it says optimize share for full screen video clip. In that case, it's like I could have a video clip and the presentation side by side, or have the people in a panel. Yeah.
We have a lot of questions coming in. Okay. I would like to do webinars to raise funds and help the needy in our community. Have you used Zoom? Have you used the monetizing feature in Zoom?
I haven't. I'm assuming this is a nonprofit, right? Probably. So is it a nonprofit?
He didn't say.
Oh, okay. But either way, I think raising funds is a lot like startup companies who are pitching, like doing an elevator pitch. I've been on pitch competitions where it was done via Zoom. So like sort of like a Shark Tank, but virtually. And Zoom works okay, but to me, the best way is to just do it live, whether it's live on Facebook, live on video, right? Live on YouTube. I don't know if your clients do it, Rob, live video like that.
Not a lot. We'll get that every once in a while, but most of them are all pre-recorded stuff.
Okay. I think if you don't have a presentation to make, that's different than a webinar. You don't really need Zoom. I mean, so in that case, you can go with the free plan and then go live on Facebook while you use Zoom. Okay. But to me, you being on video doesn't, you don't, if you're not going to do a webinar, you don't need the Zoom feature. You can just do a Facebook Live or YouTube Live, especially if you're looking for funds.
Jorge did say it is a nonprofit.
It is, yeah.
Yep. Someone wanted you to repeat the name
of the Teachable. Is it Teachable? Is it for the learning management?
He wanted to have you repeat the name of any brand you recommend as far as the mic and the cam.
Oh, sure. Yeah. The mic is, it's right, you guys see right there, Audio Technica. So and what I'll do is I'll send you the link. There's a great resource out there, this British guy who does a ton of webinars, and podcasts. He's got like the whole list of like everything you need for like $200. He doesn't sell it and he doesn't promote it. He's not an affiliate, but he just says like, here's what you need. Some people prefer headphones if they want to drown out noise around their house. So we can definitely send that list. As far as the camera, Rob, I mean, I think most of us right now are using just our regular laptop camera, right?
Yeah, I would assume, because that's that's how Zoom usually works best. I mean, use your own web camera. You can use, a lot of times, I think there's an app for your iPhone, Android for Zoom as well. So you can do either way.
There is, yeah.
The other question I saw from Mike Orr about the digital background, the easiest way to do that is on the bottom left where it says stop video. There's a little caret that goes up, and then click the up arrow. It says choose virtual background. Then you can place whatever you want in your background. That's how I've got the background behind me. And if you wanted to use, set up your own video, you can create your own Zoom video, even if you're by yourself, and record it. I think you talked about recording it and just uploading it by yourself, talking to yourself. It's fine. But that would give you your different background. That's the easiest way to do a digital background without getting into the editing part. That hopefully that answers the question too.
We have one more question. Firdos asks, can you host a presentation, meaning can 2 or more people do the presentation?
Yes. Yeah, you can definitely do that. You have to make them a co-host. So when you signed up, like for example, if we were going to do it, not this way, the way we did it today, where you just gave me full access, then when you register the webinar, however many hosts you want to have access to the presentation, like his question is asking, then you have to make sure that they are a user on. So we could have done that today, Sophia, but it would be a little bit more, I wouldn't say complicated, mm-hmm. but you would have to add me as a user mm-hmm. to your Zoom account. And it was just easier for you to say, okay, the presentation looks good, you control it. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's all the questions. Hopefully I got everyone's questions. Oh, okay. How do you collect payment? PayPal link, and that's from Taylor.
Okay. Like collect payment for a presentation, like a webinar? Yeah, so I imagine that's kind of what the question is about in general, how you collect payment. Personally, if you're using a website, I mean, you can do PayPal, but most e-commerce websites, think of it, if you were going to sell webinars or classes, like I explained, like Teachable. If you're going to take your webinars, you're going to create a bunch of content and you want to sell it, you can use a platform like Teachable that already has a payment plugin into there. It's free. And people can pay with a Visa, American Express, whatever. But if you're just going to do it on your own and you're going to charge people to be on your webinar, which is a great idea, by the way. I mean, if you have a service and you're an expert in your area, you could create a small membership based on doing Zoom webinars, and you could just make them go through a landing page. Zoom won't allow you to collect payment. So you wouldn't be able to do it on Zoom. What you would have to do is make a landing page, have them signed up. So let's say like step 1 would be like signed up. Step 2 would be like make the payment. And you could certainly do that just with a PayPal link. And then step 3 would be you sending them a confirmation link saying you registered and paid, so you're confirmed for our mastermind group. And you see that a lot in the financial industry. Financial advisors who have mastermind groups, and they will charge, $100, $200 a month. You get together once a month and they give you expert advice.
Thank you. I think that's all of the questions. Are there any last minute questions that want to come in? Okay, I think that's it. Well, Alex, anything you want to add to the end?
No, I think, look, for like our clients, what we're telling them from a business standpoint, not marketing, is just focus on your customers right now, which you guys are doing that in a big way. You're taking time out today to continue what you already do well. So to me, it's like, it's less about trying to sell to new customers right now and focusing on your current customers. So look at your current customers, go talk to them, ask them what kind of content they want to absorb, and go create it. Because we're all sitting home, like ducks for the next couple of weeks. So take the time to create the content, you know?
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alex. This was very helpful. We appreciate all your tips and tricks. Is it okay for anybody to reach out to you in case you have questions?
Yeah, reach out. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. Stay tuned to another virtual event coming to you. We have a few tomorrow. We have one at 9 a.m. It's called Planning a Path Forward, How to Access the Needs and Options for Your Business During This Crisis. We have a fun marketing presentation tomorrow from our very own Mariana Griswold, who is our marketing communications coordinator. She's going to teach you tips and tricks on how to use your chamber marketing that comes with your membership. And then we have our very first virtual happy hour. So that's going to be fun. So I suggest you kind of chime on in and just look at our website to see other things that are coming up for you, some resources that you may need. And we look forward to seeing you at the next virtual event. Have an awesome day. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.